Hey everybody, Cody here. So I'm going to do a quick update on my monster mower. And that update is that it is broke. I am having some clutch issues going on with it, and I need to try and fix those today. There's a thing called a teaser spring that sits right there, and mine decided to explode, which isn't fun, and it means my clutch adjustment went out, and now I just have a lot of bad stuff happening. So today's goal is we're going to end up having to pull the motor out and where we can get to the clutch. Probably leave the clutch in, but drive the roll pins out, take the two pressure plates off this fiber disc to where we can get to the spring. And instead of putting a new spring in there, I'm going to probably make just a solid shaft or something to take up its spot. And while we're at it, this plate right here that drives the fiber disc is warped a little bit, so we'll probably make a new new plate. So with the teaser spring being broke, while it's spinning, whenever I try to use the clutch adjustments keeps changing. So I can have everything from full clutch to no clutch, and it makes it a little tricky to drive. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and finish grabbing all these motors out of here real quick, and then get started taking this apart. Alright, so we got the monster mower in the garage. We got all the motors that we need cleared out, and now it's about time to start trying to get to where we can access the clutch. And unfortunately, to pull this teaser spring out that self-destructed inside there, I got to be able to pull the two pressure plates and the fiber plate off, and we got to be able to get this, which means I get to pull the motor out. And I hate pulling the motor out of this thing. It's kind of a pain in the butt because I end up having to take the hood off. I end up having to take this grill off. The motor is actually propped up off spacers, so you get a good alignment going on, which means I have to take it off and try and make sure I remember what spacers go where, and it's just a big pain in the butt to try and do. It'll probably take me a good hour and a half or so to get it all the way done. But once we get that out, we can knock out the two roll pins that hold the pressure plates in. The entire front will slide off. We can get to the spring, throw our little replacement in there once we machine it, and kind of start putting it all back together. So when I originally built this thing, I had an issue with the clutch that I never really fixed because it worked. And I ended up making this plate with these 3 pins on it to go through the fiber disc to spin the clutch. And I ended up, when I welded them slightly off center. And it wasn't bad. It's only maybe a 32nd of an inch. But what that ends up doing is makes the entire clutch vibrate a little bit when it's going. And just makes some weird funny noises. So I figured while I'm doing clutch work on it today, we'll go ahead and make another one of these plates. And the way we're going to make it this time, instead of trying to weld these pins in, I bought a chunk of metal from the scrapyard yesterday when I cut it out, true it up, and then we got a fancy milling machine with a rotary table. And we'll mount it into the rotary table and then be able to turn a perfect circle with it and actually turn and drill the holes for those pins to go into in the exact right location. Then we'll make a center for this plate on the lathe, put a keyway in it so we can take it, put it on the crank, weld it together, and have a brand new little plate set up to turn the clutch. And hopefully that will eliminate any of the weird clutch noises we're having and the clutch wear that we're having. Alright guys, so we finally got the motor out. Using our special little tool, it makes this a lot easier, but now we get to try and dry these pins out, get the pressure plates off, so we can get back to the teaser spring that exploded, and then we're going to go on to some machining things. Now, we noticed an issue with our pilot bearing on the shaft. It's the fact that it's spinning, and we're not exactly sure why it's actually doing that.
You can see where it's eating up a little bit of the shaft. It does fit a little loose on it, but it still spins real good. The bearing's good, so I don't know why.
Oh, hold up. Do that again. The inside's totally spinning.
Yeah, because it's not touching anything.
Yeah.
But you spin it in your hand, it spins free.
So now what we're going to go ahead and start doing is trying to drive these roll pins out.
Go to the other, roll it half round.
Yep.
Nice tight fit there, I like that. Clutch plate looks good, very warm.
You can see where we've actually gone in the past and surfaced it. I might want to do that again. Alright, so we've got the two pressure plates off and the fiber plate. Got the motor out. So now the only thing holding us back is this other little roll pin right here. And behind that is our teaser spring that's all exploded and not good shape anymore. So let's go ahead and pull this pin out real quick and go ahead and see what the teaser spring looks like. This roll pin that goes in this pin right here was the biggest pain in the butt. We actually had to upgrade hammer sizes to this to try and get it out. But we were victorious in the end, and now it's time to see what the part that caused all this trouble looks like. These three parts right here used to be a spring. Did it look like it wore a groove in that?
I don't think so.
I think it did. Alright, so we have even more bad news. Well, he's loosened that now. We were looking at the shaft for the clutch. This part right here has been worn slightly undersized. And this part back here, it's what you're not going to be able to see on the camera, oops, sorry, is actually worn out also, which means the collet that we were going to make isn't going to fit right. And the only reason it wore out is just because the spring was breaking and eventually self-destructed. So now we're into actually taking the entire clutch apart and either remachining this shaft, or I'm actually thinking about maybe taking this spare clutch I have right here with a good shaft and just putting it right through it and just swapping them out. It looks like it's in good shape, but we'll have to see how bad this one gets when it's done. Alright, so we got our extension arm taken off, so we're going to go ahead and remove the throwout bearing, which is this thing. That looks like it is about to die. Wow. There we go. Throwout bearing. I need a new bearing, I think. It's supposed to be sealed on the back.
Oh, you got one over.
Yeah, so looks like we need a new throwout bearing because it's a sealed bearing, and well, here's the seal right here. So I'm pretty sure that thing's collected all sorts of junk. Go ahead and pop the spacer out right there. So now we're gonna go ahead and pull my spring out, and look at that. That's not good.
It's got it there too, and there. So this time we're not going to put that back because that doesn't fit the bearing.
We'll machine one that fits.
We'll machine one that fits. And then we'll also have to make a collet that takes the place of this teaser spring that you see on this one right here. That teaser spring's collapsed.
Yeah.
And broken maybe, but we got to put a collar in there to make up the difference. So once you put a new shaft in turn, you fix this correctly.
And we'll end up turning down the front end just like we did on this one to fit my pilot bearing, which miraculously is still good. Alright, so we have a U-joint up there, a collet, like a little mini drive shaft adapter, and then we have the pillar block bearing, and all that gets to come loose so we can slide the shaft out the front and get to working on it. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that, and I'll catch with you guys when I am done getting the shaft out. That's what she said.